And you're very welcome back. And this video, I'm going to discuss what it takes to compete internationally. I'll start by saying what you see at a competition, you're literally looking at, I don't know, it's seconds in terms of each shot. And it's an hour maybe in qualifying, but it's actually the only part, the last part, if you want, of the build, a 2-year build in Los Angeles 28 terms. I'm going to try and talk to you today about everything that goes on before that. It's not about performance. It's not really the mindset either, but that's an element in it. I'll talk to you about the structure, about funding, equipment, classification. I mentioned in a previous video, I talked about classification, the training system, the logistics, and then the administration. There you go. Yeah, when you think about it, there's quite a lot there, and this is a self-managed project, by the way. We're volunteers. I'm a volunteer. My team are volunteers. We don't have the world budget behind us. If you think about it, we're going up against pro and semi-pro organizations that have full-time paid roles in the teams. We're fully self-funded. That makes what we're doing even a bit more special. For me, it's doing things the right way, as the way I like to call it. We'll talk about everything that makes the competition possible before anyone shows up. The video covers operational infrastructure, is what I'd say to compete. It's there's 8 domains, and each one's necessary. Like, they're the building blocks. They're the foundation. Without the foundation, you can't build anything solid on it, and each one of them has to be right. To give you a bit of background, I'm the SH2 Paralympic rifle shooter at the moment in Ireland. That means there's no real template for me as such. There's previous experience, but there isn't a defined template, even more strongly enforced by the fact that our injuries that bring us into the Paralympic shooting, there are none the same. Even 2 people with a spinal injury, if you had them, they've got 2 different life experiences as a result of it. You can't say that 2 spinal injuries are the same. Therefore, you couldn't say that the shooting is the same. Every element has been built on first principles, I suppose you'd call it. You'll see what people see on the surface, to be live on YouTube. There's an excitement about it. There's predictability about some of it. You'll see people lined up on a firing line. What makes us in Paralympic sports a little bit more complex are our classification requirements, adaptive equipment, specific training environments, travel. Now, there's an interesting one with the medical infrastructure that requires. They're not optional, by the way. That's the basic. Classification being a big one. That was last year. It took place for me in Novi Sad, in Serbia, and there's a medical team there that assess you based on your physical abilities, and they all start out 100 points. Everyone does, and then they do muscle scoring, for example. So, does your arm lift? Does it push forward? Does it push backwards? And you start with 5 points, and every element that's removed, you remove points. And so, for example, if your right arm doesn't turn out, that could be a 3 out of 5. Well, that's 97 you're at now instead of 100. And when you get to a certain number, that's the classification level for that. So my classification level is SH2CA. So I support, my left arm doesn't work properly, so I use a spring instead of my arm to support the rifle. I have to sit in a shooting chair. It has to be built to a certain specification. I'm allowed 36 centimeters or I have to have 36 centimeters of clearance between C7 in my spine and the top of the back in the chair. And these are designed, by the way, to create a level playing field as much as possible within our team of athletes, I should say. Sponsors, international program. It's It's an interesting one. Without it, we can't do anything. Without a partnership, I can't ever get to show on a world stage what Ireland's capable of. And that's a reality. And it's a concern. My part that I do is I deliver the numbers, the scores that make it realistic. And on the other side, I need partners who can actually see that and go, I'd like to align myself with that type of mind and result because it coexists with our current belief on how we deliver business day to day. Competition is the last piece of the infrastructure, if you want. It's where you end up. The funding, the equipment, the classification, training systems, they're not background details. They are the program. Like that is the program. That's every element within that has to be thought through, identified, solidified if you want, make sure they're solid, and then you can go ahead and compete. Without that, you never get to show up. Um, the performance, it can happen in a room, in a shed, if you want, somewhere in Ireland, but it'll never be realized. Think about that. If you had an opportunity to see a gold medal in the future, would it be worth investing in? Um, the funding, grant applications. Well, there are very few at my level. There are very few because I'm not carded yet. They call it carded. So when I win a gold medal or a medal, then there would be some money set aside, but it still wouldn't cover everything that's needed. Without the financial infrastructure to transport me and my medical requirements, and there's three of us in the team, my carer, who's also my shooter, or sorry, my loader, because I don't load the rifle myself. I use this arm, and my left arm just sort of sits where it is because it doesn't have the reliability and strength. My muscles are spastic. So if I try to engage that, there's every chance it'll slap the hell out of everybody within arm's reach. So not a good thing. So I have a loader who loads the rifle for me, and I do the aiming myself and then the trigger. But without the financial backing to bring my team, and then of course my wheelchair, I've got two wheelchairs, so they have to be brought. And again, we're well over the Ryanair baggage limit with the limits with the machinery I have to bring with me. Um, the training volume. None of this is griping, by the way. I take about 1,000 shots a week, mixtures of live, mixtures of dry, mixtures of digital, and they're all delivered to a plan within the program. And I've designed that program. The equipment, my rifle is pretty standard. When I say pretty, it's massively adaptable because my neck, again, I can't turn my head to the left completely or it'll start slapping all over the place. I start choking as well. So the rifle has to be adaptive enough that it can work around me, particularly. It's a high precision instrument that delivers high performance results. Again, the bullseye we shoot at is a 0.5 millimeter. I have to be that accurate that I'm scoring centered on the top half. So if you think of 10 concentric circles within a 0.5 millimeter, I have to be accurate with above that 0.5 millimeter. So we have 10 with being the outside of the 0.5 millimeter, then 10.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and so on to 10.9. Well, I have to be scoring 10.5 and above just to qualify for a final. I might even get in with 10.5 and above. 10.6, I have more of a secure place, and that's in standing. So it costs money for that type of equipment. The ammunition, again, we're talking about parts of millimeters here, so you need machinery that's capable of delivering that process. The classification process, it's done now at this stage. I'm very fortunate to actually be confirmed, which means I won't be under the cosh at future events. You can be confirmed, or you can be called back with review dates. So for example, they'll say, we'll give you a classification, come back in 6 months and you need to be reclassified again, things like that. Or you can be denied. One thing that will not be factored in is pain. So people who don't fit within the criteria, you just can't compete in the sport. That's the reality of it. So if you're really pain, like that, no one can measure pain. So it's not something that's tangible, and it's not something that should be measured either. The travel and the logistics side, like my wheelchair has to be I sit in my current wheelchair. That's my power one. I shoot from a shooting chair that's been designed by a team of volunteers again, the adaptations to it, and I might share a photograph at some stage of that in the future. Um, it has to be packed away really nicely because it's as big a part of the machinery that has high precision as anything else. Um, I've got a lot of gear has to come with me again because of my medical requirements. That wouldn't be necessary if I was without the broken neck, shall we say. So, and that, the planning behind that, that's a big one. Um, the recovery and medical, I mean, there is a recovery part of the whole thing. Um, Even on a day-to-day basis, I may have to get out of this wheelchair and get onto a bed 3 times just so that I can remove some of the spasticity that's building up because I feel it over the day where it gets to a point and my legs start flapping around like Michael Flatley without the timing. So those are the concerns that are there as well. Um, the administration, I mean, all of this has to be. I've got the administrative tasks of trying to create the proud training plans along with my coach. Then there's the trying to get to a competition, for example, very, very complex. We have to book ahead of time. The places we go, we're only allowed to go certain hotels because of they have to be accessible. If you can imagine going to a hotel right now here in Ireland, there's probably 2 rooms that are adapted. You fire a couple of hundred of us parachuters into a competition. Now you're running out of hotels. So certain hotels, I need certain transport. I can't transfer. I would possibly even end up with slings needing to transfer me out of this wheelchair. So that type of transport needs to be wheel Kevin in, leave him in the back of it, and we'll drive him. In Korea, we're going to do 5.5 hours. I'll be in the back of the van on the way there. That'll be fun. Um, Looking forward to it, by the way, but those are the challenges. Then the training around periodization. So I mean, you start with Los Angeles, you work your way back. You've got so many competitions that give you quota places toward Los Angeles. Then you've got so many competitions that are actually qualifiers for those competitions. Based on that, then you've got the training in or around those. So you've got to peak and rest and peak and rest at the right time. So there's a lot of planning and training goes into that. There's no training, a National Paralympic shooting training program in Ireland. There isn't. There's a lot of experience though, which leads to us. My coach, he has worked with the last 2 Paralympians. So the insight, knowledge, understanding, and the big one is understanding of the difference between somebody shooting standing and someone shooting from a wheelchair, as we call it, standing. It's different. Um, but I'm blessed to have a coach, Ray, who understands this and is well capable of helping me achieve the next levels. You're right, the funding applications, like I do outreach myself, looking for partners, looking for sponsors. That's done off my own bat and no more, no, like it's totally driven. So it's no different than a business, by the way. You know, business owner, you have to manage the business outside of running the business if you want. So doing the business is one aspect of a business owner, but then you go on your own time and manage the running of that business. So it's no different. It's an exciting challenge again. It's not one I'm well used to, but it's part of a system, part of a process. Um, Everything we do is independent, really. It's not like we fall in. For example, you look at the UK there; they've probably got 3 active shooters competing around the world within the air rifle categories as such. But there's a team that's built behind those people who are paid in roles. That's massively beneficial because there's already structure and process in place. The athletes in other countries that you could have teams of 20, we'd say, shooters, not all competitive, as in competing in the World Shooting Paris sports, but they're all shooting. So they've tried tested programs and people religiously year in, year out follow them. Whereas we're building ours as we go along, which is really exciting too, by the way. Again, I like project management. So for me, this is not, it's not polar opposite of what I'd be used to anyway. Approach is a little bit different. And I suppose I run this the same way I've run projects in the past. I run my shooting the way I train my shooting based on project management styles that I've done, whether it was infrastructure management, cloud, or physical infrastructure, software development projects type things. Like none of this is alien to me. It's just application of a mind. So it's well within the ability, but it just shows the diversity within the whole thing. It's not a thing of I go and I train 24/7. I don't get to train 7 hours a day and leave it at that. I have to design that training program that I'm going to train. I analyze it, I rework it, I create the processes. Outside of that, then I create the structure around applications, watching who's going to competitions, which competitions we should be at. Then I have to break down what it costs to go to a competition. There'll be flights, one big aspect, but also the accommodation. It's very expensive, primarily because the same infrastructure that's required of these competitions is being spread through a smaller amount of athletes. So if you went to a world championship of able-bodied, you have thousands. You won't have thousands of us going to a competition, but the same standards are in place. So you have to pay for that. Not a moan, not a gripe, just the realization of this is a program. So it might give you some insight, hopefully, that yeah, I go training, I shoot. Actually, I also run the business element of it as well. And I also have hands-on. It's a leader, I suppose, if you want, athlete-led training program. But with the support of massively knowledgeable people about how to navigate the whole infrastructure that I've wandered into. So I hope you come back again. I'm going to think of what we'd like to talk about the next time. Because it's important that people understand what we're trying to do here, how we're doing it, because I think it makes it a little bit more transparent. So yeah, please come back again. Thank you.